This is the entire family of Yonex's new Nanoflare 1000. As many of you already know, Yonex has been releasing new rackets with different price tiers. The new Nanoflare 1000 is no different, and it comes in 4 different models: the Play, the Game, the Tour, and the Z. I did a separate review of the highest end Z model, and you can check out that video here. But at first glance, all 4 of these appear to look pretty similar. They do in fact have differences, so make sure you stick around until the end of the video because I'll be testing each one and giving you my personal opinion. I'm gonna switch it up a little today and talk about pricing first. I hope that by showing you the different price points of each of these different versions, it'll help you understand why the rackets are different. Starting out with the most budget version, the Play model, it's gonna MSRP for $90 and will only be available in a 4U weight and a G5 and G6 grip size. Moving up to the Game model, it's going to MSRP for about $145 and also a 4U, G5, or G6 grip size. Next we have the Tour model, which will be about $200 coming in 2 different weights, a 3U in G4, G5, and G6 grip sizes, but also a 4U in G5 and G6. And lastly, we have the highest end model, the Z, and that's gonna be priced at about $260, coming also in 3U, G4, G5, and G6, and also 4U, G5, and G6. You can see that on average, each jump to the next price point is about a $55 to $60 difference. Which leads me to the next point, manufacturer. If you look closely on the shaft, you'll notice that the Z is stamped with Made in Japan, and the bottom green cap is imprinted with Japan below the white Yonex logo. That's where the good stuff is made. This makes sense because we all know that Yonex has their highest grade manufacturing in Japan, where they're based out of. On the Tour and Game versions, they're both stamped Developed in Japan, but you'll see Made in Taiwan. On the Play version, it also says Developed in Japan, but made in China. Because the Tour, Game, and Play versions are all manufactured outside of Japan, you won't see the Japan imprint on the bottom green caps. If I were to guess, the manufacturer plays a huge role in the pricing of these rackets, with the budget versions coming out of China, the mid-tiers out of Taiwan, and the highest end out of Japan. As far as aesthetic differences, the Tour, Game, and Play versions all have their model name labeled along the frame here. Only the Z version doesn't. Let me try my best to give you a close-up here, but the Play version has a brighter yellow than the other 3. As far as grips, the Z, the Tour, and the Game all have the yellow factory grips, which is a first. I know most of you will just overlay this with your own grip, but this is pretty eye-catching, and the grip itself is actually pretty soft if you just want to use it. The Play, however, has a standard black factory grip, and it's not so soft at all, and it looks like just black taping. As with all new rackets, these come with individual racket covers. I personally never use these since I put all my rackets in a regular size badminton bag, but I do want to point this out if it matters to you. The Z, Tour, and Game models all have the same racket case that has this spongy lining for protecting your rackets. The Play version comes with a cheaper racket case that doesn't have any lining inside. It literally just feels like cloth. One of the first things I noticed when I got my hands on all 4 rackets is that the Z model is the only one that came unstrung, which makes sense since we all know that the factory strings are just not so good. And if you're playing the highest end Z model, you're most likely gonna wanna pick your own strings and tension. The Tour, Game, and Play versions that I have here all came pre-strung, but with a loose tension and bad strings. From what I'm hearing, the Tour version actually might eventually be coming unstrung like the highest end Z version, while the bottom 2 Game and Play versions will come pre-strung with the basic string. In any case, I would recommend just getting rid of the factory strings on any of these and restringing them all together. As far as recommended tensions, the 4U version is recommended to be strung between 20 to 28 pounds, and the heavier 3U version is recommended to be strung between 21 to 29 pounds. Another main difference across the 4 models is the flex profiles on these rackets. High-end rackets typically have stiffer profiles since players are trying to achieve maximum hitting speeds and you don't want the racket to be bending too much. That corresponds with what Yonex has given us here. The top 2 models, the Z and the Tour versions, are both extra stiff. The bottom 2 models, the Game and the Play, have a medium flex. As we look at the materials used to make each of these rackets, each of the models are composed differently. And if you look closely, it's imprinted along the shaft. The Z version has a pretty long list of high-grade materials, and I won't go through them individually, but I created a chart for you here so that you can see the different inputs of materials across all 4 models. I broke it down by composition of the frame, the shaft, and the T-joint area. Moving down further on the racket, we have the energy boost cap on the Z, the Tour, and the Game versions, while the Play model just has a standard cap. There's only one way to find out how all of these feel, and for the purpose of this review, I've strung all 4 of them using Aerobite at 28 pounds. That way I can really dial in on the difference in feeling. For each of these rackets, I went through an entire hitting sequence trying all of my different shots. I started out with the Play and worked my way up, and I'm not gonna lie, the Play felt decent for a $90 racket, but that's probably in part due to the fact that I put in Aerobite at 28 pounds. Pretty impressive that Yonex's cheapest racket can hold such good string at a pretty high tension. The head isn't too heavy, but for me, it just didn't feel as sturdy as I'm used to in higher end models. It had a little bit of a hollow and lighter feel to it, but I'm still overall pretty impressed by Yonex's cheapest Play line. As I move on to the Game version, this is just a slight step above the Play. Overall, it started to feel a little more solid, and I would say it's better for any mid-level or advanced players. As I got to the Tour and Z models, I could definitely feel that they were stiffer, but in a good way. The stiffer flex made it feel like there was less bend or twist in the shaft of the racket during my overhead power shots like clears or smashes. The follow through of my swing just felt much smoother and much more seamless with the Tour and Z model. Between the Tour and the Z was where I got harder to tell the difference. The Tour has almost all of the same technology as the Z, just missing some Japanese graphite. But if you're not price sensitive and always want the best of the best, then the Z model is the way to go. I would say that the Tour model is comparably a high-end racket, and I could barely tell the difference myself. Overall, all of the rackets remain consistently head light, making the drive game or any fast-paced shots like smashes feel super crisp. I wouldn't say that I felt like this racket had exceptional control, but that's what the Arc Saber line is meant for. These are all set to launch worldwide on June 16th. That's all that I have for you guys today. If you guys found this video helpful, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.